is Joy News Prime.
Welcome to Joy News Prime, wherever in Ghana or in the world you're watching. My name is Israel. Coming up, a mother's plea. Mother of Sarah Kwabla, the young lady who accused Black Stars captain Asamoah Gyan of raping and sodomizing her, is demanding justice for her daughter. Organized against tariffs, the Trade Union Congress and 7 other labor groups have kicked against the recent increase in utility tariffs and have asked the PURC to suspend the implementation. Presidential objection. President Mahama accuses some politicians and a section of the media of deliberately misconstruing the recent findings of a corruption perception survey to make the country look bad.
And in business, inflation for November increases to 17.6% from 17.4% recorded in October.
And justifiable claim. Former GMPC Chief Executive Chachu Chikata insists his demand for the payment of his entitlement by the corporation is a proper thing to do. Abigail Adumakuenchi will be here at about 7:30 with details of the business headline as well as other stories. We also have sports, entertainment, and Joy News Interactive all coming up over the next 2 hours of this bulletin, which is also available across Europe on ABN Television on the Sky platform as well as Freeview Connect. Stay tuned. Now, very first story there. Young lady who's accusing Black Stars captain Asamoah Gyan of rape and sodomy says they will use every legal means to seek justice. This follows a claim by Asamoah Gyan's lawyer on Wednesday that the Attorney General had exonerated the Black Stars captain of all charges.
And on Wednesday, 2nd December 2015, we were called back to the headquarters of the Criminal Investigation Department, Accra, and informed that after a careful study of the docket, the Attorney General has concluded that the rape and unnatural carnal knowledge allegations made by Sarah Kwabla against Asamoah Gyan are totally baseless and that the docket should be closed. I'm repeating again that the Attorney General has concluded that the rape and unnatural carnal knowledge allegations made by Sarah Kwabla against Asamoah Gyan are totally baseless and that the docket should be closed by the police. In plain language, Asamoah Gyan has been cleared of all of Sarah Kwabla's allegations of rape and sodomy. Ordinarily, we would not have bothered to address the media. However, lives are involved and reputations have been affected. Right must be put right and wrong must be put in its place.
Tuesday, but at another news conference on Wednesday, the accuser's mother said her daughter was raped by Asamoah Gyan, insisting she will not allow the issue to be swept under the carpet.
My family, we are very, very worried because my daughter too is a citizen of Ghana, and I too, I am same. The whole issue is very worrying because my daughter was raped. I'm sorry to say this. The guy is a beast. I'm sorry, very, very sorry. Because what happened? No, too is very painful because they did this. The guy did this, and they brought my daughter out that she is an extortionist, blackmailer, a gold digger, opportunist. My God, it's very painful. It's my family name out there, my brother. It's not easy. I'm not rich. My late husband is not a rich man. He's just a chief inspector, a station officer. Are you getting me?
Yes, I'm getting you.
So the fact that we are not rich, are we not Ghanaian too? No, I'm asking the AG. I believe the president is watching, and the AG is under him. So what is the president doing? He can say that no, this is not good. Call the case. Call the captain for him to answer. My brother, please, fellow Ghanaians, this is all women. Shouldn't sit out there, one a pay. I'm quoting what someone said. If it is 1,000 years, my daughter's name will be cleared by hook or crook. I'm saying this to Ghanaians. If the guy will not come out and say the truth and apologize to the family, whereby the AG, the authorities has refused to seek justice for my daughter, by hook or crook, the guy must apologize. If not, the truth definitely will come out.
So, not the family.
He's too proud to come to my face that, oh, my mother, please, I am sorry, we did this, even when she was pregnant.
The family's lawyer, Maurice Ampar, says he will go all ends to get justice for the alleged rape victim.
I have not sent a petition to FIFA nor the international committee. I'm saying that it's an option that we can take. Once the Ghanaian jurisdiction, the institution that we have paid taxpayers' money, the Attorney General, who is being paid by taxpayer, says that as for me, I'm not interested in persecuting. Then there are other bodies who will be interested in prosecuting. Amnesty International will be there, interested to see that we can petition the UN, make it known. We can even give it to Anas, for Anas to take it to the Al Jazeera as part of a story. That a poor girl once lived in Ghana, and we have a football star, abused, raped, and later on, the Attorney General only to come and say that I'm not interested in prosecuting. It's a story.
A student of the All Nations University College in Koforidua has been found dead behind a hostel on campus. 17-year-old Darlington Fuache was a first-year student pursuing a course in oil and gas production. This is the second death at the school this year. Correspondent Kofi Sian has been following the story and joins us via phone. Good evening to you, Kofi. What do we know about what might have killed this young man?
Well, easy. As at now, or as I speak, no one has been able to tell how the student died, because the school authorities, I should say the public relations officer of the school, Owusu Achamfo, says no one can conclude whether the guy fell from the third floor as it's being reported. So the police have come for the lifeless body of the student, Darlington, and they're going to conduct investigations into it as to what might have caused his death.
All right, but what do we know about how he died? You're saying that some are suggesting he fell from one of the floors of the building.
Well, according to the PRO, they were only alerted by some of the students that the body of Darlington was lying behind the hostel. So they quickly went there, and indeed, the information they had from the student was true. So they quickly called in the police. The police came in with the ambulance, and they picked the body away. So for now, the students are speculating that he might have fallen from the third floor of their hostel. And the school authorities are also saying that no one can be conclusive on the report coming from the students until someone can come with evidence to that effect.
All right, Kofi, this is the second death on campus, I believe, this year. What is security like there?
Well, before the first one, the security in the school wasn't that much. You could only find about 3 or 4 people dressed in the private security uniform. These were people you could find as security men on the campuses of the school. But since then, they've increased the number of security men in and around the school. As I speak, when I went there, I could count about 25 or so security men around. So the security situation, I should say, is very tight in the school.
Any word from the family of the latest victim?
Well, we've not been able to get the family to speak with, because the boy himself, I'm told by the school authorities, has his family in Accra, asylum down. So they've, relayed the information to the family, and we've been told that the family will come to the school tomorrow to find out exactly what caused the incident.
All right, thank you very much. You heard Joy News correspondent Kofi Sian joining us from the Eastern Region. We're taking a break, but we have more stories coming up on Joy News Prime. Please stay tuned. Welcome back to Joy News Prime. Minority Leader Osei Asare says President Mahama and his NDC government are insensitive because of the recent increase in utility tariffs. He says a tariff hike will only add to the economic hardship facing Ghanaians. The Minority Leader added the country's economic performance has been abysmal. Now, Majority Leader Alban Bagbin is calling for an all-hands-on-deck approach to fixing Ghana's problems. This was during Parliament's concluding debate on the 2016 budget presented by the Finance Minister last month.
Access to electricity in Ghana stands at 80.51%. Mr. Speaker, my colleagues could go to the Ghana Energy Development and Access Project and they will see these figures there. These are calculated by a system developed by SEGIS for ECT. It is there. You can go there and you have access to it. Mr. Speaker, when I hear people talk about being soft without remorse, it saddens me. Why do I say that? Some people claim that they took us out of hatred to a low middle income country. That is the growth. Mr. Speaker, how was the growth of the energy sector during that period? So if it's true that there was that growth and I have no reason to doubt it, then we definitely have problems in the energy sector. And that is what we are experiencing now. So I expect that we should rather work together to solve it than people trying to rather make venture capital out of it.
Given the precarious nature of Ghana's debt situation, one would have expected that some bold measures to fundamentally reduce the increasing debt overhang, which, if not dealt with, would push Ghana into the high debt, low growth trap, would perhaps be fashioned out. Once the budget has not dealt with the situation, the President insists that he does not borrow to marry extra wives or to drink beer. That is the answer to this question. The cost of living has gone through the roof, and the budget of 2016 offers no relief to suffering Ghanaian people. Government is seriously insensitive to the plight of Ghanaians. Mr. Speaker, it is in this regard that we referred to the 2016 budget as a dead goat budget. It appears very strange that when the minister beat his chest to proclaim achievements of government over 2015, he did not mention agriculture. And yet agriculture was a fundamental link in the 2015 budget. Neither did he mention trade and industry. And, Mr. Speaker, I want to refer us to paragraph 14 of the 2016 budget. The achievement did not list employment. In the event, how could government boast that they have made significant improvements in the lives of the people when you are not growing agriculture, when industry is collapsing, when you are creating more unemployment in the society? You are telling Ghanaians that you have achieved significant improvements in the lives of the people of this country.
Mr. Speaker, we have, yes, in West Africa, Mr. Speaker, Ghana's growth rate at even east-west point is higher than the sub-Saharan African average. Mr. Speaker, Ghana's growth rate at east-west point is definitely therefore higher than the global average. And Mr. Speaker, Ghana's growth rate at east-west point is higher than most of the advanced countries. But we know that the structures of economies differ. Mr. Speaker, this is the context that has been ignored. And also that for the first time, Mr. Speaker, even though we have faced this crisis and these challenges, Mr. Speaker, the progress towards consolidation has never been reversed. On the contrary, Mr. Speaker, the deficit as well as the debt, and I'll return to it, have either plateaued or they keep improving. And Mr. Speaker, this is the context in which the budget theme talks about the prospects for the economy.
Now, staying with Parliament, there were chaotic scenes in the chamber on Wednesday as MPs reacted angrily to the majority leader's description of the MP for Etwimamponua as a hothead. The MP's objections forced Mr. Bagbin to withdraw the statement.
Honorable Majority Leader, the practice, honorable order. Members, if you don't take your seat, I will name you. If all of you don't take your seat, I will name you. And the marshal will come and drive you out of the chamber. I withdraw that. Mr. Speaker. Please proceed. I withdraw. Please proceed. The hotheads. I'm particularly referring to Honorable Asiama. I withdraw it.
President Mahama has condemned what he describes as a deliberate attempt by politicians and sections of the media to distort the findings of a recent report on corruption in Africa. He was speaking at a meeting in Accra to review Ghana's progress in combating corruption.
Last week, Transparency International issued its annual report on corruption in Africa, naming Liberia, Sierra Leone, Cameroon and Nigeria among the most corrupt nations on the continent. But somehow, sections of the Ghanaian media appearing to be quoting the same report named Ghana as the second most corrupt nation on the continent. This was the issue President Mahama sought to address in a speech at the second high-level conference on the National Anti-Corruption Action Plan in Accra. President Mahama accused some political leaders in the country and sections of the media of deliberately distorting the report.
Just last week, Transparency International released a report on corruption which it partnered with the Afrobarometer to conduct in some 28 African countries. This report, called the Global Corruption Barometer, is not the more famous Corruption Perception Index, CPI, published regularly by Transparency International. The objective of the Global Corruption Barometer was to seek the views of citizens on how corruption has changed in their countries over the past 12 months. This report was not an index and did not seek to rank countries in order of perception of corruption as the CPI normally does. The simple and straightforward question that respondents to the survey were asked was, how has the level of corruption in your country changed over the past year? Has it increased, has it decreased, or has it stayed the same? Suddenly, in our highly charged partisan political environment, this survey was wrongly interpreted as placing Ghana as the second most corrupt country in Africa. This is absolutely false. And for emphasis, I repeat, this is absolutely false. Despite all attempts by institutions that sponsored the report to correct this wrong interpretation, leading political figures have continued to spread this false impression. What can be the motivation for a section of our population to be so obsessed with trying to claim such an undignified title for ourselves at the expense of our nation's dignity and our international image? I leave the matter to the consciences of such persons. Sad to say, many other media networks, including our own respected national daily, the Graphic, also ran along with this falsehood and got the entire country engaged in a conversation that should never have taken place. Not only did the conversation end up misleading the Ghanaian public, it indeed also gave our country an undeserved negative image amongst the Committee of Nations and the international community as a whole. In fact, it was to avoid this kind of misinterpretation of the results that the survey methodology in the report itself stressed the fact that the results for each country, and I quote, are based on the subjective perceptions and experiences of citizens rather than an assessment against a common objective benchmark. Quotations closed.
President Mahama outlined the initiatives the government has adopted to minimize corruption in Ghana. He issued a strong warning to MMDCs who failed to implement directives on curbing corruption at the Assembly. The acting commissioner of SHRAJ, Richard Kwesen, also charged public officials to be accountable to the people they serve.
The progress made in the first year of implementation of NACAP indicates that the country is ready and willing to confront corruption together. In spite of the poor preparation and late commencement of implementation, modest achievement was made in the first year of implementation. Public awareness and education programs targeted at enhancing the capacity of the public to resist and report corruption were undertaken. The general public benefited, including men, women, youth, and persons with disability. Ghana successfully completed its review on the first cycle of the mechanism for review of the implementation of the UN Convention Against Corruption in 2015.
Women here in Ghana are being encouraged to join in the fight against corruption. According to campaigners, women and children are the worst affected by the canker. MFA Etiamwa Eli has been speaking to some women and anti-corruption campaigners on International Corruption Day.
The 9th of December on the United Nations calendar every year is used to raise awareness on issues of corruption and the need to fight against it. This year here in Ghana, event planners are focusing on roping women into the fight against corruption. Here at the Malamata market, some women will be sharing their stories with us as far as their day-to-day activities here on the market are concerned and how they have been fighting corruption in their own little way. I have with me currently Madam Juliana Abuaji, and she'll be telling us more on her activities here at the markets. Hello, Madam Juliana, welcome to Joy News. When they say corruption, how do you understand it?
It means maybe the person taking what he or she shouldn't take, it's right. Okay. Or doing something that is not right.
In your capacity as a woman on the national level, how do you think you can help beef up the fight against corruption in Ghana?
Okay, we all have to decide as a decision making, and a will is a will. Am I lying? Yeah. So we have to decide to do the right thing, all of us, from the head to the from the head to the down. Let us all, this is our beloved country, we have to do something good for us. Others come from their countries and they rather take what is right, takes our rights, whilst we here are suffering. So if we do the right, the foreigner, an alien come and I will lead the alien to do the wrong thing. It means it affects us a lot, and especially the unborn generation. So we all have to decide, get that say, as I wake up today, I'll do the right thing. It's a decision making, as you said.
Talking about corruption, the only thing I would tell all Ghanaians, that corruption is not good. There is nobody, there's no mighty name that can build Ghana for us. And there's no God, small g, who can redeem us from corruption unless we ourselves redeem ourselves and become new. If not so, we shall spoil Ghana one day.
So what?
Well, staying with corruption, today is International Anti-Corruption Day, and the pressure group Occupy Ghana has issued a statement to coincide with the day. I'm going to read you excerpts of that statement. It says the theme for this year's observation is Break the Corruption Chain. But Occupy Ghana says Ghana hasn't broken the corruption chain, and this is why they say so. The UN's message in observing the day had two important paragraphs that makes us believe they had Ghana in mind. Corruption is a complex social, political, and economic phenomenon that affects all countries. Corruption undermines democratic institutions, slows economic development, and contributes to governmental instability. The second paragraph reads, corruption attacks the foundation of democratic institutions by distorting electoral processes, perverting the rule of law, and creating bureaucratic quagmires whose only reason for existing is the soliciting of bribes. Economic development is stunted because foreign direct investment is discouraged, and small businesses within the country often find it impossible to overcome the startup costs required because of corruption. Instead of ridding itself of the shameful tag of the new Gold Coast of corruption, Ghana, under the current dispensation, has witnessed countless acts of high-level corruption, political corruption, that is, until news broke of judicial corruption. The latter drove the last nail in the coffin of corruption, not to bury it, but to keep it alive. The last resort for citizens to address grand political corruption was hugely compromised, strengthening rather than helping to break the chain of corruption. And Occupy Ghana says it, however, remains resolute that right-thinking Ghanaians will not hope against hope, but will find solace in the hearts and minds of the very few upright men and women in all levels and branches of government who are determined to end the corruption. And we urge every Ghanaian to join in the fight to break our chain of corruption. So that is a statement coming from pressure group Occupy Ghana to mark International Anti-Corruption Day. You're watching Joy News Prime. We're taking a break. When we come back, we bring you business news. It's time for business, and Abigail Adumakwinchi has joined me. Good evening to you, Abigail.
Good evening, Israel.
Right, so there are two issues that are of interest to me in the bulletin. There's inflation, and then there's gold.
Right.
One is going up, one is coming down. My interest is in the gold prices coming down, which has serious implications for the economy.
Right.
And you have details on that.
Yes, I have the details.
All right,
but I'll start with inflation, and the inflation figure for November has increased slightly by 0.2% to 17.6% from the October figure of 17.4%. Deputy Government Statistician Dr. Bawadier has been explaining the main drivers for the marginal increase.
Of inflation has two main components. We have the food inflation and the non-food inflation. For the food inflation, the rate for November 2015 was 7.9%, as compared with 7.8% that was recorded in October 2015. The non-food inflation rate for November 2015 was 23.2%, as compared with 23.0% recorded in October 2015. And it's the price changes in these commodities we have mentioned, which are mainly non-food items, that are driving the inflation rate in the country. And specifically, we've been able to identify education and the others that I have mentioned. These are the main price drivers for the inflation rate that we have observed. Realize that this inched up, or these had rates which were up, and that affected the overall average for the non-food group, which also inched up by 0.2%. And this accounted for the average increase in inflation in the country that we are reporting.
Yeah, but the declining prices of gold continue to put a lot of pressure on mining firms in Ghana. Now, the precious metal has hit a 10-year low, trading currently at around $1,078 an ounce. Most mining firms in the country were earlier this year forced to cut down production, lay off some workers, and shut down part of their mines. But with gold prices still falling on the world market, is another round of layoffs avoidable in Ghana? George Yaffe has more.
The record decline in gold prices have come about because of the slowdown of China's economy, which has affected the demand for the commodity, and a strong US dollar, which has resulted in some of the investors moving away from gold as a safe haven for their investments. Engaging some of the mining firms locally, they say the decline has resulted in their cost of production hitting the roof, a development that calls for another round of cost-cutting measures, which would include some layoffs. Some of the firms have told Joy Business that they are looking at cutting down on gold production, freezing development of new mining pits, and some marginal cuts in their workforce. If they go ahead with these layoffs, it will indirectly affect the communities that most of these persons are employed from. It will also affect government's revenue in terms of the income taxes that these persons would have paid to government if they were working. Also, don't forget the corporate taxes that these mining firms would have advanced to government if they were making some good profits.
Meanwhile, the Ghana Mine Workers Union says it does not believe layoffs is the only way out. Looking at the current challenges facing the industry, Prince William Ankra is General Secretary of the union.
I mean, layoffs, you can do it to an extent, but the right is that you need skills to get your enterprise running. And for that matter, layoffs might not be the appropriate long-term solution. It will all be short-termism, And I think that for me, the creativity that I put across that look, sit together, let's look at numbers drastically. And I can assure you that we can clear a lot of waste. And on that basis, we can keep afloat and keep going, whilst we also make sure that, sometimes we make appropriate savings for this kind of rainy day. Because many a time when the rainfall was there, ask me, what did they do with the money? It's important that we maintain cool heads, just look at issues more maturely and see how we can sustain the business. I mean, any rash short-termist approach will bite us in the long term because skills are getting very scarce to come by.
Now, the era where management and boards of state-owned enterprises hide behind political interference to put out weak performance is over. This is according to the Deputy Finance Minister, Ato Forson, who says it is about time state-owned enterprises collaborated more with the relevant ministries. Ato Forson was speaking at a stakeholder consultation workshop to review corporate governance framework of state-owned enterprises.
The structure of the single entity, we are not taking it out. Remember that what we are saying is that your very enabling act that establishes the SEC, we need to review it to give you more powers. We've identified issues where, because of the way you are structured, it's difficult for you to regulate the giant, like the VRA, the Ghana Cocoa Board. It's very difficult for you to regulate them because of the way you are established. Your office, as it's structured today, doesn't have what it takes to even check the financials of some of the things that they are doing. And that is why we feel that there's the need for us to work with you on a single entity so that you can still go on with your monitoring. We want to only ensure that the investment that they are taking will not become a contingent liability tomorrow for the taxpayer to pay for it tomorrow. That is what we are talking about. Because for your information, some of this debt that we are talking about, the state owns X amount. You look at the DSA, and you see huge amount of debt as if it's the state that is owing. A good number of it is coming from the SOEs. There are SOEs debt, but they are sitting in the books as Government of Ghana debt, though you are servicing it. Because the World Bank will tell you they will not take it out until you improve your governance.
Pensions fund administrators are expressing mixed views about the compulsory enrollment of companies without second-tier pension scheme. The National Pensions Regulatory Authority has assigned these corporate trustees to companies that have failed to register the mandatory second-tier scheme for their workers. The process, which took effect from 1st December, is to ensure companies pay their workers second-tier contributions through the trustees instead of SNIT, as most companies do currently.
When there's so much uncertainty about an implementation of a particular process, like the National Pensions Act, then people begin to speculate, because they don't see why things are, and nobody seems to be giving a very clear-cut, I'll say, answer to it. As you would observe, last year we had assurances that monies will be transferred to corporate trustees, and a year on, we are still where we were. So in that instance, then, I'm not the one who is saying, but then it becomes something that anybody else there can speculate about. So we shouldn't give room for people to draw political meanings into, I'll say, purely, possibly technical directives and actions of an institution.
That exercise in itself may present its challenges because we as corporate trustees running second-tier schemes do not have the power that SNIT, for instance, has to prosecute. So if the regulator does a ballot and a company is forced on my company, I'm talking about an employer being forced on my company as a corporate trustee, and if that company does not make contributions on behalf of its employees, all I can do is to complain to the regulator, but I do not have any prosecutorial rights to go to court to compel that company to pay. So it presents its challenges, but I can also understand the frustration of the regulator because implementation of this three-tier pension system effectively has been going on for the past 3 years or so, and we expect companies to comply.
It's now time to get into the stock, commodity and currency markets, and John Amwako has joined me already. Now, John, the stock market is quite interesting. Yesterday, liquidity was quite high. Today, we are seeing something else. What's happening? Liquidity is low. As usual, I mean, as we expect of every market, that is how it is. Sometimes it goes up, sometimes it goes down. But this time, most of the declines is actually attributable to the fact that we are getting through to the unit. A lot of the companies are actually saving a lot more money to do their importation for next year productions. That is one. And most of these retail investors are also selling most of their investment to also only take care of their kids here and there for this Christmas activity. So naturally, you would expect some block trades. Whenever there's a block trade in the activities of the market, you see a lot more liquidity going on. So I think that is expected. It is expected going forward. Now, that is exactly what it is. On the commodity market, quickly. So
on
the
commodities market,
oil,
yes, exactly.
You're seeing something very interesting, a record low of,
For almost about 9 years today, crude oil has actually gone below the $40 mark. That is a dreaded mark. A lot of investors, a lot of companies, and a lot of, oil-producing countries were not expecting it to go. But today, as at 6 p.m., it's gone down. It's gone below the 40 mark. I'm sure it's going to keep a lot of governments, a lot of oil-producing countries actually thinking. But OPEC is still insisting they are not going to cut down on production. So that's a very significant thing. A lot of countries...
So it's likely to go down more?
Exactly so. So we hope that it actually does more. But today, oil lost almost about 57 cents to close around $39 per barrel. That is very, very significant. Gold also keeps losing over the period, which is resulting. I heard you do some story to the effect that because of that, a lot of, we suppose we're going to be seeing some redeployment here and there. Some workers actually going to lose their jobs.
Now let's talk about the currency market. The currency, some changes in there.
Exactly. So today the CD did quite well by gaining against the dollar, but unfortunately it didn't do that much better against the British pound, the euro, and then the Chinese yuan. It lost marginally to these three currencies. So that's basically what it did. The market has not been that active today, but I think going forward tomorrow, we expected to see more on the market. Abigail.
Thank you very much, John. And that will be all for business. My name is Abigail Adomakuenchi. For more business news, do log on to myjohnonline.com/business.
Welcome back to Joy News Prime. A former chief executive of the Ghana National Petroleum Corporation, Chachu Chikata, has justified his claims for the GNPC to pay him his entitlement for the time he served the corporation. Mr. Chikata has been in the news recently after revelations the GNPC was planning to pay him about 1 million cedis in end-of-service benefits. Though the GNPC has confirmed monies have been earmarked for the former chief executive and other former employees, they have not disclosed the amount involved. MP for Adansi Asokwa Katie Hammond, who has been challenging the payment, says Mr. Chikata doesn't deserve the money. But speaking on Joy FM Super Morning Show in Accra, Mr. Chikata said paying him is a proper thing for the GNPC to do.
I don't have access to all the data, so I don't actually have a figure. But the GNPC has been tapped. For instance, with Provident Fund, I was not, checking on the Provident Fund as it was paid by me and so on. And so the GMPC is in the best position to, establish these. The data are there in the records of the GMPC.
Okay, I wonder whether that doesn't pose a difficulty for you, because how will you know whether they pay?
It does. It does pose a difficulty for me, but obviously I would expect them to act in good faith, especially if the representation that they have made to me is that they are trying to sort out a matter of entitlements within the context of a corporate decision that they have made. So I would expect them to act in good faith. And whatever documentation there is about all these transactions, all these entitlements in the corporation, I'm sure I would have access to.
So
that is correct. Now, I agree with you that there's been confusion caused. I don't see my entitlements as an ex gratia payment. And I think that the description about end of service entitlements is more accurate. Now, that's why I said to you that I can't speak for other people in terms of their use of certain words. You know, I think the term of the term ex gratia has been used in some loose ways in this country, and sometimes, for instance, in relation to, I think, members of parliament and so on, what they are paid at the end of their service is sometimes referred to as ex gratia and so on. I mean, I can't speak to the different terminologies that different people use. What I'm addressing, what I'm concerned about, is based on representations that have indicated to me that the board of GMPC is concerned to resolve once and for all some outstanding issues of entitlements of certain officers being wrongly denied them, and being denied, frankly, as a matter of political victimization. I think let's call a spade a spade. In 2001, there was a situation in which certain people were targeted in relation to the affairs of GMPC. That's the reality we have to confront.
That is another interesting part of this whole saga, because as far as we understand from following the headlines as they unfolded, an announcement was made in December while President Rawlings was still, still the president.
In relation to me, that is correct. An announcement was made that I was being made an advisor to the Minister of Energy. That announcement was made in the early part of December. And after that announcement was made, as you know, elections took place in this country. And after the elections, there was a new government. Now, that announcement having been made, I have to tell you that I actually never received any official notification. Probably that was overtaken by events in the circumstances. So what happened was that I had outstanding leave, and I took that outstanding leave after having waited, obviously, for the communication to me, which I didn't receive. But as I said, I saw that events, had overtaken whatever had been announced. And
Ghana has a rather poor track record in providing basic services to people with disabilities. It will therefore come as a little surprise to many that deaf people in the country have no means of communicating with healthcare providers. The concern for the Ghana National Association of the Deaf is that this language barrier could lead to wrong diagnosis and even preventable deaths. Rafiq Salam has more.
It was supposed to be a training workshop to give women living with disabilities in the 3 northern regions an adequate skill set for employment to free them from begging on the streets or menial jobs. However, for stakeholders who participated in the Wild Ghana in-country training, there are bigger challenges. Upper West Women Wing President of the Ghana National Association of the Deaf, Christiana Yaga, said stigmatization is the biggest obstacle for the full integration of people living with disabilities.
You have to change your attitude towards people with disability, especially those of us who are hearing impaired. For example, there are no sign language interpreters at vital services, especially at the hospitals. It is difficult to tell a nurse or doctor what is wrong with us when we are at these facilities. Information on us is lacking, especially women, those of us who are hearing impaired. Women with disability in Ghana have special needs and face a lot of challenges. No employment for us, even though some of us have employable skills that are needed in certain jobs, but they are not given the chance to be employed.
However, for the Upper West Regional Minister, Amin Amidu Suleimani, fighting prejudice is a universal responsibility.
Particularly if any of our disabled persons or visually impaired or virtually hearing problem is possible. He will hear the sound of the law or she will hear. And so the drivers are advised to be mindful and just don't harass people with horns when they are driving. Honking is not it's time for animals, it's not for human beings. So when you see a human being on the road, just take your time and allow that person to move. Don't be honking. The person might not be hearing, the person may not be able to immediately run across, and then just worry that person.
We're taking a break on Joy News Prime, after which we'll bring you international news. So we're getting to know what's coming up on Joy News Interactive. Ketsi Ifuakwa Harrison, good evening to you.
Good evening, Israel. How are you doing?
I'm good.
Okay, so the mother of an alleged rape victim demands justice for her daughter after the Attorney General throws out the case.
I believe the president is watching, and the AG is under him. So what is the president doing? He can say that no, this is not good. Call the case, call the captain for him to answer.
The suspect, Black Stars footballer Asamoah Gyan, the judges, the Ghanaian public, and you are not being too kind to this lady on social media. Now, he cancelled Independence Day celebration so his countrymen could clean up, and he just didn't fold his arms to watch. He took part. We'll be talking about Tanzanian President John Magufuli, a.k.a. the Bulldog, right, Israel?
Bulldozer.
Bulldozer, okay. And if you're a handsome guy like Israelite, well, your good looks could cost you your job.
Very handsome. Maybe you become like a scare to your boss. Your qualities and stuff with your boss, compared to your boss, it thinks like you are more of, with the physical qualities, you are more of good than him. So perhaps, well, that can hinder you from being promoted.
Details, your comments, including Israel's reaction later on in the news.
Sure, we'll have all that coming up for you in the second hour of the bulletin. So you do stay tuned. We'll be back in a bit. Welcome back to Joy News Prime Time now for a recap of our top stories. And mother of Sarah Kwabla, the young lady who accused Black Stars captain Asamoah Gyan of raping and sodomizing her, is demanding justice for her daughter. President Mahama has accused some politicians and a section of the media of deliberately misconstruing the recent findings of a corruption perception survey to make the country look bad. Former GMPC Chief Executive Chachu Chiketa insists his demand for the payment of the entitlements by the corporation is the proper thing to do. In other news, a recent study conducted by the National Commission for Civic Education suggests that most Ghanaians would like to see more restrictions on the media. The research conducted in 72 districts across all the 10 regions measured the public's perception of the work of the Ghanaian media, and Odame was at a program to discuss the findings.
The research conducted in 2014 also sought to assess the media as an institution in supporting Ghana's democracy. 58.8% of the respondents to this question stated the media was promoting democratic stability and professionalism, whilst 34% thought the media does not exhibit competence and professionalism. Senior lecturer at the School of Communication Studies, Professor Audrey Gajepo, questioned why 55.5% of respondents praised the media for doing well, but also asked for restrictions.
You said they are playing their roles incredibly well.
You say that they are doing their jobs with a great degree of professionalism. You say that you find them credible and neutral. So why do you want their freedoms curbed? So you do want in a broadcast bill to articulate and clarify some of those obligations. What are the obligations of these 3 tiers?
Former Executive Director of the National Media Commission, Ambassador Cabral Blay Amihia, criticized the media for abandoning its watchdog role. He believes the media had handed that responsibility to others, especially to politicians.
There's an enabling environment for the media to hold governments accountable, and that is guaranteeing the freedoms that they enjoy. Even the state-owned media have a constitutional mandate to hold governments accountable. Are we doing very well? I'm not too sure. Sometimes we are abandoning our role of setting the agenda and allowing other forces to set the agenda. And when that happens, then you stand the danger of losing out on your constitutional obligation.
Some media personnel have been brutalized and assaulted in their line of duty. This year alone, the Media Foundation for West Africa has recorded more than 12 of such brutalities. The foundation's former executive director, Professor Kwame Kakari, wants security personnel to be given media literacy lessons as part of their training.
A highly considerable number of the perpetrators of physical attacks on journalists are members of the security agencies. That's the sadder aspect of it. I think one of the ways in which this may be minimized is for the police training institutions to include some media literacy courses in those training activities. It should begin from a reorientation of attitudes by the security agents.
For Joy News, my name is Hannah Odame.
Irate supporters of failed NDC parliamentary aspirant for the Tamale Central Constituency, Alhaji Ibrahim Saidu, have hit the streets of Tamale to protest against what they describe as the unfair dismissal of the engineer from the Ministry of Roads and Highways. Alhaji Ibrahim Saidu contested his boss, Roads and Highways Minister Yunusa Hussaini, in the recent NDC primaries. Let us get more details from our correspondent Hashmin Mohammed in Tamale. Good evening to you, Hashmin.
Good evening, Israel.
How did the protest play out?
Well, it all happened somewhere around 5:30 this evening when the irate youth took to the street, exactly the central business town close to the state transport company. They said they bent ties in protest over what they allege that the engineer has been dismissed from the Ministry of Roads and Highways, and their protest was basically to send a signal to the president to reinstall him back to the Ministry of Roads and Highways.
Now, how do the protesters understand the dismissal of Alhaji Saidu?
For them, they are linking it to the man contesting the incumbent member of parliament for the Tamale Central, Alhaji Yunusa Hussaini. For them, they think that it is the sector minister who would have been behind the dismissal of the man. But information that we have gathered is that he is being invited by the civil and local government service to answer questions.
All right, thank you very much, Hashmin Mohammed, joining us from Tamale. Now, organized labor has described as too high recent utility tariffs announced by the Public Utilities Regulatory Commission and is demanding a reduction. The 59.2% increase in electricity tariffs and 67.2% for water are expected to take effect from next Monday. A statement jointly issued by the Trades Union Congress, Ghana Federation of Labour, Ghana National Association of Teachers, and 5 other labor groups says the PURC should have first considered the availability and reliability of power before reviewing the tariffs. The 8 labor groups are also demanding that any increases in tariffs should be suspended and the utility companies compelled to reduce their technical and operational inefficiencies as a condition for a tariff review. Kofi Asamoah, Secretary General of the TUC, is one of those whose signature is on the statement. He joins us on the phone now to tell us more about their position on the tariff increases. Good evening to Mr. Asamoah. Hello and good evening to you, Mr. Kofi Asamoah.
Good evening, sir.
All right, now how realistic is this demand for reduction in tariffs and suspension of the new tariffs?
You may recall that from the very onset that the PRC asked for increases as part of their nationwide stakeholders consultation. We came out, and part of the consultation, organized labor met them. And they were trying to justify why there should be increases in the utility services, including the challenges they are going through and the challenge that the facilities will grind to a halt if they don't get the money. From the word go, we told them, part of the consultation, but there's a limit to which working people and generally Ghanaians can pay, given the cost of living generally and also income levels that we have. I must emphasize the fact that there's been a series of consultations with the organized labor, have series of consultations with the utility companies, and they tried hardly to justify why those increases should be made. And each time we also explain the other challenges that we have, that their services have not been as expected. Beyond that, we are in this level of the non-availability of their service in the midst of doomsaw, water not running well. What was the basis for those kind of increases? Beyond that, we also openly gave out some specific levels of, they were talking about between 120 and 400% increase. And we were quite emphatic that it's not possible that we could be able to meet that. That in totality, based on the consultations with the utility companies, we said that anything beyond some levels could not be contained.
All right, so in the statement, Mr. Asamoah, in the statement you're suggesting that if it's 50%, you're fine with that?
No, 50% given both the increases in electricity and water and all those levels. You know, if you can check, there are levels where, yes, we give out which levels. So we moved out from where we say we can't pay to where we say, yes, we acknowledge that there should be payment. But if there be payment, it should be within some range. But they came out with those levels which we thought comparatively is not within the outcome of our consultation. So when they increased, they announced the increases, we tried arranging a meeting of organized labor. So today, organized labor met, and what we have received is the outcome of all our responses today.
All right, so what exactly are you asking for, if you can just run us through it quickly?
One, we're saying that the timing of the increase, as part of our consultation, we stated clearly that if there could be any increase at all, it's not around a week or 2 to 6 months, but it should be next year. So the timing was one factor. The levels were also another factor that we said we cannot contain, and that we could contain the totality that they were given up to a limit. So they came out, and today organized labor met, and we clearly sounded a caution that we can't afford that. We are asking for a reduction. We are equally also asking for the implementation to be pushed to next year.
And what if they don't comply?
Oh, okay, but we strongly stated that it's urgently
needed that they do that. And generally, as we have stated repeatedly, there's a limit to which workers and Ghanaians can pay. Given the economic challenges that we're going through, given that some, the rare indicators of the increase, like foreign exchange and other foreign things, we acknowledge beyond their limits. But the managers of the economy have a responsibility to that. If the Ghana cedi relationship has been a factor, I mean, do we have to pay for those kind of things?
Okay, so what if PRC doesn't comply?
Oh, yes. I mean, we will then decide along the line which line of action to take.
All right. Thank you very much, Kofi Asama. Kofi Asama is Secretary General of the Trade Union Congress, and he was joining us on the phone line to talk about a statement they issued earlier. We're taking a break. When we come back, we'll bring you entertainment.
Entertainment news is...
It is time for entertainment. Miss G is here.
Hello, Israel.
Hi, Miss G.
Are you a MOBA?
No, I'm not.
Okay, okay.
Well, the tie, the color of the
so
tie.
you know it, you know it, you know
but
it.
But I'm not.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So
I'm sure they wish that was.
Really? Okay, okay. Yeah, they really wish you were.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so what's up?
Lots. But let's start with Kofi Kenyatta. Kofi Kenyatta, you know, his story began with Castro, who's gone missing. You know, Kofi Kenyatta started with rap. We knew him to be doing more fancy rap. Then we just saw him start singing. He started singing, and his songs actually do well than his rap because every time he raps, he forgets the lines. Yeah. But when he does a song, he actually stays with her for a long while, and he gets a lot of airplay. Now he has a new one called Susukan, and it tells a story about life and how everybody should be content with what they have because somebody else is having a worse situation than yours. And he says that he thinks that singing is a lot more easier for him than rap. So maybe he would rather
forget the rap and just concentrate on the singing.
The rap, you have to think, you have to rhyme. Although the singing, you will be rhyming, but yeah, the melodies and stuff gets into you and you go along with it. So I don't know what I'm doing. I'm not perfect. I can't sing like the covenant, the Sabini dance, but yeah. So does it mean you're going to be doing more singing in your upcoming songs? Somehow. Since my first, I love this current one.
So that's Kofi Kenyatta.
We wish him all the best.
But you should listen to Susuka. I tell you, it's a great song. It is a great song.
All right, if you say so. Our Princess Shingle.
Princess Shingle is always in the news for all the odd reasons. You know, there's one time somebody saying that, oh, he had the favorite kiss on set with her, and this time around she's saying that, look, everybody's talking about not wanting to act nude. She would act nude. It's not a big deal anyway, acting nude. She will act nude only when she's paid $1 million. You know, she's okay. She would act nude. And you know, the shape, you know, everybody will want to see the shape, you know, in that package. You know, and
okay, so she thinks that people would want to see this shaped bird.
Yeah, and it's no big deal
unveiled,
for her. And uncovered.
Okay. And she's going to take $1 million. She will take $1 million if she has to do that.
So if anybody wants to see her nude, they should just give her $1 million.
You recall when Kim Kardashian said she was trying to break the internet?
Yeah, she did break the internet.
Now she's trying to break Gollywood. Where are we going to get $1 million, stupid?
Wow.
You know, because, okay, so she wants $1 million to unveil it. But she would unveil it. I'm sure she's probably unveiling it to other people for free.
You can only imagine. You can only imagine, Israel. You can only imagine. But Miss B says that she had her first kiss at 18. When did you have yours?
She had her first. Why is it about me?
I'm asking you. I just told you about.
She is talking about her.
And why? You can't talk about yours?
And
you can't talk about yours?
I don't recall.
You can't remember?
Yeah.
Oh. I think you did it too early.
I don't know.
No, but she's one of the covers of this year's Glitz magazines, and she's been revealing to them that, okay, at age 18, she had her first kiss. It was great, and that Ifya and also...
Is she sure it was 18?
Oh, like you're not sure it was that age? You want to tell me?
I'm thinking maybe it was before 18.
Like yours. That's how come you can't remember. Yours was at 10. That's how come you can't remember. It was that early. Oh.
I'm not sure about that.
Anyway, let's go to Nigeria and model Omobelo and then Emmanuel Ikebweze and also Ikechukwu, who is a musician, were on Indani Real Talk. Guess what they were talking about? Guess.
Sex.
Okay, you're close. But this time around, they're talking about ageism and then dating. You know how, Africans, we have this, he's younger than I am and he's older than I am. But these two guys have been revealing a lot of secrets.
Yeah, I mean, I think age ain't nothing, like they say. Age ain't nothing.
Really?
But yeah.
Really? So you've dated an older woman before? Your wife is watching you?
Yeah, I have.
Oh, you have? Okay. He didn't tell a lie.
No.
Oh, clap for Israel. I'm excited. Okay.
Excited about what?
That he told the truth, at least for once.
But I always tell the truth.
No,
I always tell the truth.
No, you didn't tell the truth about the first kiss. You didn't tell me.
I said I didn't remember.
Because it was at age 10. But you won't tell us.
Was it you?
No, I wasn't born by then.
So it wasn't true. It wasn't 10.
Anyway. Katy Perry. Katy Perry is topping Forbes' list of the highest earning musicians up there. She's the number one. She's on number one. From number 28, she was 28 last year.
She used to be 28.
Yeah, she was at number 28 last year, and now she's at number one. And again, she earned $135 million for herself. And these ratings were done from June last year to July this year, and it had to do with more of sales and the concerts they have had, tours and all that. Yes.
So here she earned $135 million in the year, and she didn't have to bear anything.
You know that, yeah. But there's more up next.
Making it to number one. Princess Shingles will be aiming to make it to Ghana's number one.
Well,
when she gets her $1 million.
Of course, after acting nude. Okay, so this great news for the lovers of the Empire series. I hear people talk about it all the time. Yeah. I'm surprised. The craze is everywhere. And there's a character, Taraji P. Henson is Cookie Lion in Empire. And Times Magazine has named her 2015 most fictional character. She's most influential fictional character. And of course, people have been talking about her character, and she has this line that she says, "That's my name," and people are excited about. I'm excited about it too. And here's more for Empire lovers. Okay, so Empire earned 12 nominations, but our own Beast of No Nation also had 4 nominations for the award that is scheduled for February 5th next year.
That's great, and I'm actually tipping Abraham Atta to pick up something in the academies, in the Oscars.
We pray he does. So that's it for entertainment, Easy.
Thank you very much, Miss G, and that's it for entertainment. We're bringing you sports up to this police station.
Entertainment news was brought to you by...
And Gary Al Smith is here. Good evening to you, Gary.
Good evening.
So the story is that Dede Ayew has a new coach.
Yes.
At club level.
He will have a new coach at club level.
He will have a new coach because Gary Monk is going away. What did he do?
He didn't perform. His team were not doing well.
You mean like Chelsea is not doing well?
Swansea in the Premier League.
So Swansea is not doing well?
Like Chelsea is not doing well, yes. Well. But are you intimating that why hasn't Jose also been sacked then?
Yeah.
Well, that's a kettle of fish and this is a kettle of meat.
Monkeys play by size.
You see.
All right.
Yes.
Bring us a sports, please.
Right. Thank you, Izzy. And that's how we begin the sport. Hello. Good evening. I'm Gary Al Smith. My namesake, Gary Monk, has been sacked as Swansea manager after the team's poor performance. It was announced just around 4 p.m. today. 4 p.m. and the bookies are already bringing out names. We'll be bringing you the names of those who are most likely to take the job in subsequent bulletins. But still, in England, the Champions League has seen this season become a bit difficult for the English teams, and Mauricio Pochettino is speaking about why it's not been easy for the English teams in Europe's premier competition. Champions League, English teams not doing well, but at the moment, they seem to be doing well, depending on where you stand, West London or North London. In terms of North London, the Arsenal are leading 1-0 against Olympiacos, but as you may know, they need 2 clear goals to be able to go through 45 minutes more in that one. Chelsea, through Diego Costa, are 1-0 up on Porto, and if they win, they will go through. For the Arsenal game, it's Olivier Giroud who scored, and so that's the way it is. Dinamo Zagreb 0-0 Bayern Munich. Also in Group E, Bayer Leverkusen are drawing 1-1 with Barcelona. Meanwhile, Roma are playing 0-0 with Bate Borisov. And in Group H, we have Ghent 1, Zenit St. Petersburg 0. And Zenit, as you know, are looking to be the only team so far to win all 6 matches in this round of the Champions League. Lyon are also beating Valencia. The story there, obviously, that Gary Neville is having his first game in charge. Finally, to the Europa League. Tomorrow is Thursday football. Jurgen Klopp of Liverpool will be there, and he says he's delighted with some of the good news he's getting from the camp.
Time now for a quick recap of our top stories. Mother of Sarah Kovla, the young lady who accused Black Stars captain Asamoah Gyan of raping and sodomizing her, is demanding justice for her daughter. President Mahama has accused some politicians and a section of the media of deliberately misconstruing the recent findings of a corruption perception survey to make the country look bad. Former GNPC Chief Executive Chachi Chikatay says his demand for the payment of his entitlement by the corporation is the proper thing to do. Up next, Ifakwa Singh will be joining me for JNI Interactive.